Hello and welcome to another exchange. The saying goes that there are two things that you can be certain of, death and taxes. But what about change and life not always going according to plan?
Setting goals, making plans and having ambitions is all a part of life. But what happens when these plans don't come through or how we expected them to?
The one thing in life that you can truly count on is that sooner or later it's going to throw you a curveball. Setting goals and making plans surely are a good thing, but when our focus is so intent on making them happen, it can be crushing when things don't work out the way we expected. How do we navigate through life when it doesn't turn out how we hope?
Our guest today on the show was 24 and excited about starting her career as an occupational therapist when the unexpected took place. Having suffered a stroke, Emma G had to learn how to do everything again, from walking to talking. She is now an inspirational speaker for corporates, community and healthcare groups.
Margie Warrell is best-selling author, keynote speaker and Forbes columnist with a background in business psychology and coaching. She is an international leader in human potential and is passionate about empowering people. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Now tell us, you had a stroke at 24, which is, I presume that's it's young to have a stroke.
Yes.
Are there many people around that age that have a stroke?
Yeah, it's quite common actually. The awareness though there's not a lot of awareness about it. So we're really passionate about trying to increase that, sort of advocate for people who for so many reasons are not able to express that for themselves.
So tell us about what actually happens in your particular situation, Emma.
So I was working as a full-time occupational therapist in neurology with stroke survivors, and to cut a long story short, a common running injury was found in my left knee. And when the surgeon went to remove it, from the running injury, a way more serious problem in my brainstem was a mass called an arteriovenous malformation, or AVM. And it basically is like a tangle of blood vessels in my brainstem comprised of arteries and veins all tangled up. And normally as you grow, they untangle. But in my case, they were knotted and likely to burst if they were not removed.
Which would have been fatal if that had happened.
So it's like a time bomb and had to go. And so 1 in 5 of surgeons in the world agreed to operate. And I flew to Sydney to have that done, but it was very difficult, and the AVM or malformation in my brainstem was cone-shaped, and when he went to remove it, he accidentally chopped the top off, and the residual AVM bled, and I had a stroke and went into a coma.
How long were you in a coma for?
9 days.
Okay. And when you woke up from that, did it start to dawn on you what had actually taken place? That take some time?
A really, really surreal moment for me. Like, my world was tilted and spinning like a ride I'd been on at the show. There was two of everything with my new double vision, and I'm an identical twin, and I thought, well, people have had to cop seeing two of me. Maybe it's my turn.
Wow.
But it was, surreal, and just, I was bombarded with medication at the time, so, but, I was trapped. I couldn't communicate in any way. So
We'll come back to more of your story in just a few minutes. Margie, you've been through your own fair share of adversity as well. Tell us what happened, particularly with your brothers.
Yeah, look, just to acknowledge yours, because I think all of us have different things that we struggle with and different crosses to bear in our lives, and it's so easy to kind of go, oh, I feel like mine has never been anywhere near as heavy as what you've had to deal with, and it's inspiring to hear your story. But I know for me, one of them was with my youngest brother, Peter. He developed mental illness when he was 20, actually. It was psychosis to begin with from having marijuana, and but ultimately that developed into a really severe case of paranoid schizophrenia. And so over the course of 10 years, he continually, he kind of got worse. With every relapse, he got worse and in and out of hospital, and committed numerous times, in trouble with the law because it's all connected. And after 10 years, Peter took his life after a really long, hard battle and a lot of suffering with schizophrenia. But actually 2 years prior to that, my older brother, Frank, he had a motorbike accident and that left him a paraplegic. So within 2 years, you know, actually Frank first became a paraplegic, and then within 2 years, Peter had taken his life, but that had been a long, long battle. And I think both of those situations were really hard for me, for all my family, and for everyone who loved Peter and Frank. And I know with Peter, the thing that we struggled with was, how could God let this happen? I mean, it was the worst of the worst, thinking when someone had said he had schizophrenia, I was like, well, not in my family. This won't happen to me. This wouldn't happen to my brother, who's so bright and so promising. And it was such a harsh reality to come to terms with, and holding on to hope was really hard, because he actually did continually just get worse. Each time he got better, his better wasn't as good as the previous better.
Right, yes.
And I think, and then when he died, to be honest, he was no longer tormented, and there was that saying, rest in peace. It's like, at least he is in peace now that he did not have. But still, why did this happen to him? You know, we can ask ourselves that. And the same for Frank. But I know with Frank, you know, he lives now, you know, with paraplegia, but he's working, he's driving, he has a good life. And I think the core thing I remember being with him in the rehab hospital, as he came to terms with the fact he'd never dance again and run again and do all the things he loved to do. He's like, you know, I know that there's 5,000 things I can't do, but there's 10,000 I still can, and I want to focus on doing them.
That's an amazing perspective, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is such a powerful way for us to approach life. There's things we can't do sometimes, but there's things we can, and where do we choose to put our focus? And I think at the heart of resilience is about just really how we choose to, what we choose to focus on.
And that's that hope that you mentioned. What would have been one of the things that inspired you to move forward, Emma?
I think, I guess saying what Margie was just talking about, you know, focusing on my abilities and not my disabilities, and my accepting what I can't change, but then going and changing what I could. Having that perspective on life and that attitude has definitely helped me in trying to I guess, rebuild my own identity, and definitely has made my journey a lot easier.
And to get to where you are today, which is amazing and inspirational, how long has that actually taken?
Well, it's 10 years exactly today since I had my stroke. I returned to work 4 years after my stroke. So I was in a rehabilitation facility, relearning how to do everything, and then gradually building up my endurance. I began working again, not in a physical capacity, but more doing the educational role of an occupational therapist.
Did your knowledge help you to rehabilitate faster? Were you telling them what to do?
No, I think I applied it to my own recovery. So I'd seen, particularly when you encounter some change or difficulty in life, you become very bubbleized, and it becomes about you. And I had seen how many people around my patients had been impacted by that circumstance. And so I was adamant from the onset that they too would be supported, and I would try to include them, and I would, you know, even though it's hard to rely on them and you want to be independent, I knew that I needed that to leverage myself. And probably from the start, even though it hasn't been easy, I think that's how I've been able to overcome so much more, because I've had support to do that.
Wonderful.
Amazing, incredible. Margie, is it possible to prepare yourself for the unexpected when life throws us a curveball?
Oh, look, I think there's no doubt, I mean, so much of it's mindset, but just, you were just talking about the support that you've had, and I think there's a lot of research that shows that when we're connected and part of community, it builds resilience. And so I think being mindful of investing in relationships and being someone sharing our struggles and just having those really authentic, meaningful relationships with people, because when the curveballs do come, and they inevitably always come in one way, shape or form, when we have those people around us, I think that can make such a massive difference to our ability to ride the waves.
Yep.
And I think one thing a lot of people struggle with is when they're having a hard time, where they're confronting a change or something's thrust upon them, is often they're reticent. People can isolate and withdraw themselves, and I think that's the very time we have to share, I'm struggling here, this is hard for me, and that involves being vulnerable and asking for help. And I know people over the years. I've got a friend who has gone through a long battle with cancer and still is, and she said she just had to learn to receive help, knowing that she wouldn't ever be able to repay it, but just to be able to receive help. But being part of a community where people will help you, and you can't even write a thank you note sometimes.
Yeah.
You just have to receive it. I think that can make such a difference to coping with it.
The support of other people. Is there anything you'd like to add to that quickly, Emma, before we go to a break?
I think I definitely agree with that. Having amazing support helps. I think focusing on just being and living, not doing all the time. So much fear goes into being fully prepared and having control over a change that will occur, and our focus becomes on the future, and we become so ridden by anxiety about the future and so guilt-ridden about the past that we forget to live now.
Yeah.
And I think
That's good advice
incorporating, I know for me, like yoga and just having coffee with friends and swimming, time to stop and be and live and enjoy just being and not worry about tomorrow as much.
Fantastic. If you'd like to know more, of course, you can head over to our website. We'll be back with Street Talk and more right after this.
Has your life turned out the way you hoped and dreamed?
In some ways it has. I've married and got children, but there's always something else that lurks there.
Yes, I think it has, yeah.
How so?
It could be better, but I was happy with my job, and I've got a husband and children, and we're happy and everybody's well, and yeah, so that's all good.
Yeah, pretty happy with the way it's going. Got a solid job and travelled and seen the world, so can't complain.
In a way, I think it has. Yeah, I think I've done quite well. I think I wanted to get a good job and have children, and live a good life. I'd probably like to travel more, and there's always things you want to do, isn't there? But I think I've achieved quite well, actually. Yeah.
To be honest, no, but I couldn't complain. I'm happy with how it's going, and so far so good.
Got a degree. I'm now working the job I wanted to work in from when I was at high school. So yeah, I'm really happy.
So far, has your life turned out the way you hoped and planned?
Absolutely not.
Wow, that's quite a question. Look, I think so. I'm a school teacher, and my parents were school teachers, and I think when I was a little kid I thought that I would perhaps be a school teacher. I've done lots of other great stuff between little kid and now, which has been good. There's things I'd still like to do, travel the world and all that fun kind of stuff, but yeah, I'm in a pretty good place, I reckon.
Pretty much, yeah. It's worked out okay.
Much better.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, probably because I had no plans and dreams to start with.
And if you had your time again, would you do anything differently?
I don't think so, no.
I might study a bit harder at uni, yes, probably that.
Probably travel a little bit more, see a bit more of the world.
I think definitely taking up any opportunity that comes your way. So perhaps not being hesitant, actually taking those risks and doing some of those things that you think later on, I wish I'd done that. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't, because I wouldn't be where I am today or who I am today if things didn't go the way they did, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah, lots. But that's not to say I haven't regretted things I've done so far.
Aspects of it I would do differently. When I was 3, I broke my arm. I probably wouldn't jump off the trampoline in the same way that I did at that time. But no, I reckon I'm pretty happy with my lot in life. I've done a lot. I went to a great school. I travelled the world. I went to 2 great unis. I'm pretty lucky with what I've done. If I had my time over, I reckon it'd be pretty much the same. Yep.
I'd pursue music.
Oh no, I think the choices we make and the decisions we make kind of mould who we are. So I don't know, I just think I am where I am because of the choices I made, and I'm happy to be here. So
If something doesn't turn out the way you hoped, what do you do in that situation?
Well, I try very much not to have any expectations, and that way I avoid disappointment. So I just take things as they come.
Welcome back. Some great feedback there to your questions on the streets. Sandra, what stood out to you?
Oh, everyone's happy and everything, and life's gone all according to plan. Largely, I kind of felt like I wasn't getting maybe the whole picture of it all, really. I think that's probably what you want to say on camera. But, you know, a couple of people actually who stood out to me, the one gentleman just kind of said, you know, no, I don't hope and dream. Well, not at all, and I don't hope and dream and plan for anything because I'm trying to avoid disappointment. So
That's a fascinating one, actually, and I wanted to ask that question of you earlier, Margie. It's like, because of the possible curveball of life, should we just not bother to set goals, plans, dreams, etc.? Then we won't be disappointed.
Well, no, I don't think that would be a good idea. I think it's wonderful to have things to work toward, but as I've said a few times before, is, you know, write down your goals and your dreams, but in pencil, because, you know, as life happens at you and opportunities open up that you didn't even know about, and possibilities, but also sometimes doors close and things change that you maybe thought you wanted to do. And so I think you've got to be all the time, you know, adjust your sails and go, all right, well, that's not going to happen, but hey, this could be really cool. But I think when we have a vision to work toward, it really can shift our present day experience, and it almost provides a compass. You know what, this is how I want to like one of the women was talking about not studying hard at uni. And I think, you know, if she had maybe had more clarity about what she wanted, she might have studied harder. But if we don't know what we want, how do we know where to invest our time and who to invest it with and what to say yes to and what to say no to?
And I think as well, we've got to look at these people. They were talking about life overall, and maybe if you had got them on a bad day. I mean, I think it's slightly different if you're dealing with something like in your situation that is fairly defined. It's defined at a time, you know. So how would you respond to the people on the street?
I think, I guess, I mean, if anyone had asked me when I was prior to my stroke, I probably would have replied the same way. You know, I guess I still have dreams, and my life has definitely not turned out in the way that I thought it would. But I think having a vision, like Margie said, is so important. Having meaning to your everyday to strive towards that goal. But also, I think more so to make it realistic, to have stepping stones to achieve that. So often we're so focused that if we don't get there, we're going to fail, and and then when we do get there, suddenly we've got nowhere else to go. And so making sure there's incremental successes along the way, I think is really important.
And one of the ladies that I interviewed said, you know, things haven't all gone to plan, but it's given me opportunities to do things today that I couldn't have done. And maybe that's the case in your situation. You may not have done the things that you do today, but your stroke has opened up new opportunities, like what Margie's saying too. And I don't think people always have that viewpoint.
I think, I think it's about being open to different opportunities along the way. And even though you might for me, I valued health and well-being. Like that was one thing I've always valued as a runner, and I still live that value, but in swimming. So it's not the same. I think it's being open to doing it a bit differently. There's not one thing I do now the same as I would have done it, but I still can achieve that, and I think we've got to be open to ensure that we are able to achieve that.
So we need to be flexible, we need to be able to adapt, I guess, along the journey, if I can summarise what you're saying. And I think the standout from what you've said is write your goals and dreams in pencil. I just love that. That's going to be on Facebook later. Sandra, thanks for popping in.
Thank you.
Don't forget to see more of Sandra and Street Talk. You can head over to theexchangetv.com.au. Back with more after this. Welcome back. Margie, you've got a brand new book out.
I do.
Tell us about it.
I do, Brave. So it's my third book. And you know what? Because I'm a super busy person and I meet a lot of people who are just like me, I wrote 50 short, sharp chapters. It's like a daily devotional, but without all the scripture in it, to help people be brave, just inspiration for their daily lives on what does it mean to be more brave in our everyday lives.
Like brave shots, a shot of bravery
what do you
for
need
the
to
day.
say no to today? Just things like that we sometimes just need reminders of.
I love the short chapter thing. I'm a short chapter guy.
Yeah, I'm
Definitely.
increasingly a short chapter person.
No, that's really good. I think that a little shot of bravery and a little shot of thinking of some of the things that actually went well during the day takes away the guilt of things that you maybe didn't feel went well.
Yeah, and you know, I think so often we think about, we define success by a result we achieve. And I think if you think about success, really, how have you shown up and how have you responded every day? Who have you been for the people around you, regardless of what's happened? Because life doesn't go to plan.
Yes.
But if we can be optimistic and hopeful and have a good sense of humour and be kind and patient in the midst of life not going to plan, I think we will live successful lives.
Yeah, indeed. Emma, you mentioned a couple of things that help you to prepare for life setbacks.
Yeah.
Give us some other ideas that you would suggest to people listening.
One really big thing in my life that really helps me every day is being grateful. Looking in my everyday for things that I'm grateful for and appreciate. Gratefulness and resentment can't coexist. And so looking at, it's amazing how it just, I look out for things that I'm really thankful for rather than focusing on what I can't do or what didn't go to plan.
That's wonderful. That's a really strong antidote to adversity.
It's a simple thing that we could do that really makes a massive difference.
That is so
great.
good. So gratitude every day. And that's even more powerful coming from someone like you who's been through such a full-on time, for you to be able to say, hey, I'm looking at things that I can just be grateful for in everyday life.
Yeah.
I'm very inspired by that. It's wonderful.
you.
One last closing thought, Margie, something that we can incorporate into every day that's going to make a difference.
You know what? I think if every day we ask ourselves, what would I do today if I were being brave? And, sometimes it is just sitting there and being in gratitude, and other times it's having a tough conversation. But I think if we constantly just ask that question throughout our lives, the answer will change, but that can really shift our experience of life and what we're able to do with our time and talents.
Love it.
It's wonderful. Thank you both so much for your time. Really appreciate you both. And thank you for joining us. Don't forget, we'd love you to exchange your thoughts and ideas with us on what's important to you. Hope you can join us next time.
See you then.